Hey everybody, welcome back. Psychedelic here. Today I got 7 LPs I'm going to share, plus some singles I actually bought today in Lincoln. I went downtown to one of the antique malls and found like 4 of them for a buck each, and a couple of these are kind of worth some money now, and you just don't see them around. And one of them I took a chance on, and surprisingly, it's kind of unnatural to me to talk about like new wave bands, but this single I picked up was kind of pretty cool, so I'll probably get to these last. But first I want to dive into the LPs that I picked up, and these are no particular order, but picked up some really cool stuff online, and one of them was in the shop as well when I went down to Lincoln Vintage Vinyl. So let's begin. So this one I received in the mail yesterday. This is one I picked up on eBay. You guys may have seen the listing. This is an album that's kind of grown on me back in November of last year, and I've always known about this album. It just never caught on very heavily as it has now. And this is one of those 60s songwriters trying to like cash in on the psych era, and does a pretty considerable job on it. This is Shannon, the same Shannon that had the hit with Runaway. This is his album, The Further Adventures of Charles Westover, which was his real birth name. This is in the shrink yet, and this is a very clean copy. Finally picked this up for just right on the edge of my comfort range. Typically this album goes for about close to $100 now, and finally scored this for about 60. And for how clean it is, that was a very good score. So this album reminds me very much of like Gary Lewis's album Listen, which is also on Liberty, but it has a very distinctful Baroque and psych feel to it thrown about. Very pop oriented, and unfortunately didn't make any sales when it first released, and probably led to Shannon's alcoholism and depression that he had, eventually led up to his suicide. But yeah, this is very strong material. I would say it kicks in right around the 3rd track, Silver Birch, kind of merging into that next track, I Think I Love You. If there is one weak track, I would say it was River Cool. It's kind of a more mellow track, doesn't really fit as much, but it's still decent. Also has a single, Gemini, which didn't chart at all either. So it's got a lot of positive reception on this album, and I agree. I think this is very much a singer-songwriter must-have of the late 60s, trying to cash in on that psych era, Very strong writing, and the songs stick with you after a while. It takes a few listens, like it did for me, but the payoff is very rewarding for sure. So glad to scoop that one up. I think Shannon had a few other sessions around the time this album was released too, which I've heard a few songs, kind of more in like the pop rock realm, but they got a lot of, like I said, a lot of aspiring key moments in here with some Eastern influences, and it's got a lot of great bag of pop movements. Okay, and this next one I picked up was another local find. This one's kind of been staring at me in the shop when I've gone to Vintage Vinyl, and I always see it on the wall, and it's lasted there about a year. And this is one I've always been up in the air about this one, because it's got one very strong track. The rest of it's kind of more mellow and very soft prog. But being a local LP, I just thought to myself, I'll probably never see this in public again. So I did get some store credit, and I actually met up with someone at the shop who was going to pay me money for a Led Zeppelin. So this is Froggy Beaver. What a name. From the Pond. This is a local Omaha, Nebraska band, and I got it for almost half the price, that it typically goes for, which I was happy about. It's got a little seam split there, but You know, these things don't turn up very often. It's a pretty clean copy. It's got a few scuffs, but the one key track from this one would be Away From Home, the second track on side 2, or first track on side 2. As far as the rest goes, it's kind of a grower. It's still growing on me. They definitely had, you know, an audience back in their prime, but it's more commercial, soft, and mellow progressive rock. Sort of reminiscent of like Procol Harum and Moody Blues a little bit, but it's not bad. It's about a 3 out of 5 star for me. With that second track, really kicks it up a notch. Kind of reminds me of Pink Floyd during their metal era, so that's a fine pickup nonetheless. This is one I've been listening to quite a bit at work recently, and this is one that I was introduced to at work. You know, I would sample this on and off throughout the day, and just didn't really latch on till this year. You know, some albums are just like that. They kind of creep up on you. And this is what's playing in the background, if you can hear it. This is Thunder Tree. It's on the Roulette label, Mafia label, and same label that housed bands like Morning Dew, the Shondells. And this band got the one album treatment, and it's a pretty clean copy. It's got a little stain, you know, in the opening, but otherwise it's, you know, for the price I got this for, it's kind of fetching up in value very slowly, but yeah, what an odd sleeve design. It's like this businessman's holding on to a exotic dancer. I don't know what's going on. But this one's it's kind of eclectic. You know, the first side is very much like it starts out kind of like a soulful hard rock thing, but then they go into this like Strawberry Alarm Clock vibe, and then they bring some more fuzz, you know, right around the corner, and so it's kind of an eclectic bag of styles going for it. But the second side really kicks it up a notch with the Sweet 1225. It's got all these short little ditties, you know, kind of recalling this, you know, this occurring theme throughout. And I think that's the stronger side. So if side 1 didn't latch on for you, I'm sure the other half will. So this is actually pretty good. It's pretty solid. I wouldn't say it's a psych masterpiece up there with like July. Definitely not, you know, but very solid, very accessible psych record from 1970. So they were based out of the Minneapolis area. Again, another one that's been on the want list a long time. Finally found a comfortable priced copy on Discogs. This is a private pressing called Music from Rkin Manor by the band Rkin. Anyways, this came out in 1973, and this is on the Outsider label. And this was originally on the Windy label, which also had Creation of Sunlight, which I've shared in my top finds of 2020. Looking at the sleeve, you know, with the negative filter, it kind of tells you maybe, oh, psychedelic, right? I would say yes, but it's got kind of like this loungy pop psych flavor. You know, you can definitely tell these guys have played in clubs throughout the years, because they've been playing for quite a while, and with like 6 different members, and this one guy gets credit on pretty much all the songs, and the band really regretted that because they all kind of worked together, and they were kind of disappointed that he got full credit on every single track, but it's got some nice liner notes, you know, talking about that. So yeah, it's kind of got this very polished, loungy psych rock sound, reminiscent of like Ray Harlow and Jip Fox. Reminded me of that a little bit in sound, you know, kind of like a club band. But overall, some strong tracks, and some of the tracks kind of get very repetitive as far as their melodies go. They only go so far, it feels like. But my favorites are Take Some Time, the second track, Goodbye, and Watching You. But of course, the opening track is probably the fan favorite, Ruby. Um, so yeah, give this a shot. This is pretty good stuff. The Outsider label. And I think Karma has also reissued this. But I always trust Outsider, you know, the sub-label to Gearson. They have quite a great catalog of remastered and reproduced LPs like this that come once in a lifetime. Okay, and this is another Christian private press I picked up on thanks to Alex Kerner. He actually handed me this copy because he got an upgraded copy on this, and this one you probably just have probably never seen in the vinyl community. This one's very scarce. This is the title's called Born Again, and this is actually a split LP between two bands, The Messengers and Good News, which was a folk duo, and they're both based out of Vermont State. And yeah, both sides very excellent. Both different styles. Side one's kind of more of a garage pop and rock sounds, with some nice fuzz leads in some tracks, and it's nice organ accompanying it. And side two is more of a stripped down acoustic folk, based lyrically around, of course, the gospel. But yeah, these are very strong original tracks for, you know, being basically unknown. So the full LP is up on YouTube if you guys decide to check it out. And this was actually the video, what was it, my top finds of 2020. That opening track is from this album, and that track is The Right Way. Definitely a highlight off here. And I was surprised to see that it came with a lyric insert. Comes with a lyric insert. And it's a plain yellow label. Yep. So yeah, pretty strong, and kind of under the radar as far as like Christian psych LPs go. Opens up very strong, so I would check it out. This is one I picked up at a Salvation Army probably 2 or 3 weeks ago now. Never talked about it on Instagram or Facebook yet, but figured I would show it. It's nothing spectacular, but it's MacArthur Park, one of those budget LPs from back in the day, by the Stone Canyon Rock Group. But it's definitely, what's his name, Jerry Cole sessions. Had a big hand during these sessions. You could tell there was actually some songs from the Inner Sounds of the Id on here. Like they do an alternative take of the track Wild Time. Wild Times. And what's the other one? I Can't Stand It, I think's the other one. Or I Love You, I Do. That's the one. Both tracks were actually featured on the Id LP. So, nice to hear different renditions of them, and I haven't really decided which one I like better of the Wild Times track, but some of these tracks were on other different budget LPs as well. So, it's one of those Jerry Cole projects. And this is another folk duo LP I picked up on, you know, on the whim, just hearing a couple tracks on YouTube, and it was just enough to sell me over. This is Lo and Behold by Bill and Ron Moore, who also had a solo career, and these guys were based from North Carolina. It's on the Martin label. I would say this is kind of more based around a lot of different folk cover songs of the day. You know, songs like Get Together, Gentle on My Mind, Scarborough Fair. You know, has a very heavy Simon and Garfunkel kind of vibe. But there's at least a couple tracks that incorporate organ alongside with like percussion. I think it's the original tracks, Buffalo and Simple, which both end both sides of this LP. So yeah, it was a nice discovery, but I don't know how long this will last in my collection. It was just something I just kind of took a blind chance on, and I ended up liking it, but it's just I can't see myself playing this too often. But this is it's a nice surprise. So if you see it for cheap, give it a shot. And of course, I showed this, my last video, the Sorcerer soundtrack. Talked about that one. Okay, on to the singles then that I picked up today. So this antique store I always go to, I've never seen this crate of singles on the floor before. They always have, the typical Christmas crap in the back that I always, try to see, and if, they've changed any of the stock, but very rarely. And so when I saw this new crate on the floor, I was like, I gotta check it out. There were some surprises in there. I found like Music Machine, Mortimer, some different singles that, I was thinking to myself, I'm going to find something in here. And I did. So this first one I recognized right away because of the label. This is Crazy Horse label. This is the band David and the Giants with their single 10 Miles High. This is a very good single as far as Northern Soul, sort of like, lots of use of phasing effects, and it's kind of got this kind of breezy pop sound to it that I could hear like being played back in the day. But I feel like this was not a very big radio single back in its day. I feel like, but it should have been, And the flip side is just as good. I'm Down So Low. It's got very nice fuzz break, thrown about, and kind of got some hard rock elements. And so this was a nice surprise to pick this one up, as it's kind of sought after nowadays. And then the other one I recognized was this one by the Scarecrow. This is on the Date label. I think this is the A side. What is it? Kisses Sweeter Than Wine. I forget how this one sounds, but my favorite's the B side. Hold Back the Sun. Kind of reminds me as if Strawberry Alarm Clock was blended perfectly with the Association. It's probably what this would sound like. It's got a lot of heavy vocals going through, but it's got this kind of dreamy, sunshiny vibe to it. That's the standout track for me. And these were $1 fines, by the way. I mean, they're written on there, so it's very cool. This one, I don't recall what this one sounded like. I think this is another soul single. The Sheep, Dynamite, on the Boom label. Boom Records. And then I Feel Good. I think that's the A side. I'm not sure, but it's a promo copy. It's not in the best shape either, but, for $1. I had no clue what it was, so I took a chance. Kind of based on that label. As well as this one, I didn't know if this was going to be like a garage single or what. Like I said at the beginning, I was very surprised when I sampled this online that it was a new wave single. This is on the Irwin Records label. The band's called The End, with You Never Called and People Talk. So just looking at it, I thought maybe it was a garage single of some sort. To come to find out, this came out in the 80s, and I actually enjoyed this very much. It kind of reminds me of like B-52s a little bit, maybe. I don't know my new wave very well, but it reminded me of that. So I was very surprised to come around liking this. Just it's so drenched with 80s production, and kind of sounds like it would be a couple songs featured in like cheesy 80s flick, kids going to the prom or something, dancing to these songs. It kind of reminds me of. So yeah, those are my pickups, and I hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know what you think. So take care, and we shall see you soon.